Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by our lovely sponsors, Portion, an all-natural single-protein dog food snack company. Go to portion.com.au, enter Muscle Talks 25 for your first order, get 25% off. Muscle Talks 10 for continued orders, 10% off. Also, our premium Australian supplement company, Premabolics, best protein pre-workout and much, much more on the market. Go to premabolics.com.au. Use the amazing discount code MuscleTalks15 to get 15% off. Also, I see Chris does not have the candles here, or are they behind me? I'll be telling you a little bit about our candles, rest and fuel, in the near future. Anyway, let's get on with Madi. Today was not supposed to be about what we've lost, but what the world gained by having you in it. Until you passed, you told me your heart was full again. You were very much every bit amazing. I won't forget the one of the most important things you ever taught me about myself, that I have so much more to give the world. We lived by the favorite quote we always shared: be the change you wish to see in the world. Are you okay?
Yeah. You know how you were saying, like at the start, how you don't know how some people do it. When you meet somebody like Madi, he's one of those people that's like the cream of the crop. Like he was an incredible person. My former partner passed away. Like, the world doesn't stop when you're grieving. Like, you probably felt this when your parents died. You really want to just break down for as long as you want to so that you can feel the world without them, but no one's going to pay your bills for you. People don't really run your business for you, especially if you're alone. So I went straight back to work. I looked after my clients. I actually worked in disability and case managed. And
how do you know when there's more in you?
I put it down, and I've had this since I was a kid, and I wish I could articulate it. I kind of call it my fire, my internal drive.
Yep.
I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I built that, or it's something that I learned. It was this small voice inside me that was like, you can do better.
13% body fat and does not do stupid. She's proven masculine is feminine. Creatine created her butt, or did the 5 to 8 years really do it? She gives you permission to move the water bottle. Don't you wish your girlfriends were hot like mine? Likes and votes all over her captions. She's happy to hand back the Strongest Soldier Appointed Award. Custom officer, parole officer, a state award child, Supermax jail, posing coach, competitor, sports nutritionist, lifestyle coach. She normalizes the abnormal, likes to educate and help people. Help me welcome what people see and what people don't see, Madi Grace.
What an intro.
I know. Some people wonder, like, where's he getting this from? And then the lights start going on. Oh, okay, he's just doing the little. It's kind of like the hook baits. Like
he's done his research.
Yeah, especially about now. They're probably thinking, wait a minute, what's this Supermax jail?
Literally, as you said it, I was like, they're gonna think I escaped Supermax, and I'm out, baby.
Yeah, she's on the run. She's on the run, guys.
I used to not pre-qualify when I tell people that, like I just got out of rehab, and they were like, wait, what? And I'm like, I used to work in a rehab. I worked there, but
I know. And just before we were going to start, I was going to bring up this full moon thing. Yeah, I am in the biggest fucking emotional state at the moment. So if I cry on this podcast, it's the moon, not me. All right, I am masculine. No.
Yeah, you let it flow. You let it flow as it comes naturally. So funnily enough, with a full moon, I recharge.
Yeah.
So full moons don't bring negativity or anything, or they usually bring like a lot of prosperity, a lot of
Oh.
peace of mind, a lot of energy. But I've always kind of had that trajectory. So I roll with the punches.
No, I find 4 days out, 5 days out of a full moon, and I know it because I'm a bit snappy, and also this one's been a beauty. I don't know what's going on with this moon. I'm crying at IG posts and ads. I'm just crying.
It might have to do with the planetary alignment.
Is it?
So yeah, so on Australia Day, one of the first times we had Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Mars, and another that was, it's all visible to the naked eye, and they're the closest they've ever been to alignment, plus a full moon. It's got to mean something. Mean something.
Well, it's smashing the hell out of me, but yeah, I mean that's and I used to argue the point and blame others for the full moon, but then I realised it's me. So it's easy to just blame yourself and move on. You know what I mean? You can fix it. Do we have the aircon on? Oh, thank God! My God, I feel like it's a sauna here.
It's bad here too.
Yeah,
it's very hot.
You're in the Gold Coast, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's very hot today.
I know, the Gold Coast, cool place. I saw you paddling along in your little kayak with your friend. That's that. You are you near Southport up that end?
Yeah. So I she-hulked. We got to an island and we had to go all the way around it. So I literally just grabbed the kayak and she-hulked it across the island, and we just jumped back in.
Yeah, I got a unit in Southport myself.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I know someone in Runaway Bay as well. So yeah. I've come up a few times. So when I saw you kayaking, I went, oh, I've done the walk path there, so I know it.
Yeah, literally.
And there's apparently a really bad fish and chip shop around there, but we won't talk about that bad fish and chip shop.
Yeah, it's called Chara Seafood. I'll dub them in. It's very overrated.
How do I know Gold Coast? How do I know that section? I know it very well. And I also know Broadbeach, the place that has very expensive coffee, and they pretend to be good. But that's another story too. Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who is following us on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please, if you could do us a big favor, which helps us reach more people, get better, bigger, greater. We've already had some great guests anyway. Everyone's been a treat. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you're notified every week a new podcast that is launched. And I just want to say a big thank you. But again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy watching Muscle Talks podcasts. Let's start with your first post just to get a little bit of an idea of you. 28th of January, most recent. I would never get as masculine as you. It's not feminine. So we're moving into a new world. Females finally moving into the sportsmanship sense arena with less judgment. I personally can't wait to be the representative of a male-dominated industry. I'm going to be whatever my incredible body allows me to be. I will continue to grow what was made to be without criticism. What does this mean?
Yeah.
What is this?
I think I spent a lot of time trying to hold myself back and not reach the potential that I had for a lot of years because of everybody else's perception of what a woman should be.
Right.
And that flowed on through decades of my life. First time I competed, I was so insecure about the way in which I looked and trying so hard to be smaller. It's like someone who's a little bit bigger built, desperately trying to fit into a size 6 when they're no longer size 6. There's nothing wrong with being a bigger size whatsoever. It's just how their body is. It's their ratios. It's their portion. And that was kind of me in my entire life, just trying to fit into something that I thought everyone else wanted me to be, rather than just embracing what I was and then having the ability to reach my full potential. And with bodybuilding, I waited so long to compete because I didn't want to get too muscly, and I didn't want to not be feminine anymore, because God forbid a female has biceps and they're vascular and that means they're not feminine, or they're just training really hard in the gym, they're sweaty, they don't look pretty, the booty's not looking good, you got cellulite, like the movement's too much, and you just feel all this pressure to look a particular way as a woman. And then the first time I competed, I actually entered the bikini category thinking that, I was small. I'm just, I'm small. I'm not very muscularly dense. I'm just in category one in an international federation. I'll just do category one because I'm not that impressive. And then I jumped in a lineup with a bunch of bikini girls and they're like, what are you doing here? You have way too much muscle. You need to just go own what you are, build into it, lean into it. 2 years later, I sat with myself. I went through some heavy things in between that period where I was like, okay, I tested whether or not I could do it. I loved it, absolutely loved it. The whole environment, the challenge itself, the preparation for it, the people, the federation, loved it. I was just trying to be something I wasn't. So I had this really massive trauma in between, and that's always been around consistently. But my headspace shifted in such a way that I wanted to just realize my potential. And it wasn't even just the physical change. I've always had the density. It was the self-belief to just move into a space I feel in myself, the little fire that I'm supposed to be there. So sucked it up, went hard, trained the hardest I ever had in my entire life, dieted right down to get the most conditioned I could ever possibly imagine, and went into the big girls category thinking, it's okay if I don't take it out. Like, you did the best you could do, and then took it all out. And it built credibility within myself that I've constantly underestimated myself. And I think that was a lot of the time to avoid self-disappointment. If you shoot for really high goals, there's a big chance that you'll fall even further. And you just get in this toxic headspace that maybe it's better just to aim smaller so that you don't get so disappointed if you don't get there. And then this shift happened where I'm like, no, F that, I'm done with that. I want to see what I can do. And if I don't make it, I'm happy that I tried, but I will get there one day. I don't have to get there right away, but I will get there one day.
How do you know when there's more in you?
I put it down, and I've had this since I was a kid, and I wish I could articulate it. I kind of call it my fire, my internal drive.
Yep.
I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I built that, or it's something that I learned. It was this small voice inside me that was like, you can do better, you can do more. Like, I know you can do this. And it felt like there was always these two existing personalities. One was the traumatized version that was like, you can't do that, you don't deserve that, you don't deserve to have this, you don't deserve to sit in that space, how dare you have dreams that big. Like, constantly battling this internal monologue about what I shouldn't be doing. And then there was this other side of myself that was like, maybe like my hopeful inner child that was like, you can do better. The version of myself that I always wanted to be, and then the version of myself that I was kind of traumatized into, just competing all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to you. But it's a lonely place, isn't it?
Especially when you don't have the traditional supports that you're expected to get by birth. Like, you always expect that you're going to have.
I thought about that when I was driving here about you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking about. My parents, I'm old. Obviously, I'm older than you. I'm 55, but my parents have passed away now. And fuck, it's lonely. Not because I was close to them. It's not because I was close. I just had something that was there when I was down on my hands and knees, and I knew that was the only place I could go to where no one knew, but they didn't care if I came in strong or weak.
Yeah.
And then I thought about you, and then how you became when you're 13, when you basically were taken away from your family. And I thought to myself, how did she do Christmases? How did this kid believe in herself? How did she save for something? How did she build? Because it's so easy to build on something that a foundation or a support network that's behind you, meaning, you know, and again, you missed out a lot on it, but even if I didn't have food in the house, I knew if I drove to my parents, that fucking pantry I could survive for years in that pantry. You know what I mean? And for some reason, there was a roast there at 9 o'clock in the morning in the fridge. I could pull out and eat whatever. I used to think, what are these guys dealing and wheeling and dealing? They've got like food and plenty, and they tell me they're on the pension. They're dealing something. I don't know. And I was just thinking to myself, how, after going through you and writing your script, and just when I was driving here, I said, fuck, how did she do it? And I'll tell you why I thought, how did you do it? Because at the moment, I fucking feel sorry for myself. And I'm not one to feel sorry for himself. But at the moment, I do. And I just smile and wave. And I got a feeling you smile and wave all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a very lonely road where I think when people ask you in a way that's looking for support, there is an element where you just have to say what you need to say to get through. It's not truth. You know that common saying where people are like, oh, but it made you who you are? Yeah. I can say that. You can say that about yourself, but I'll never say that to other people going through the worst time in their life, because the fact of the matter is, and I believe this to my core, and I work with lots of people in trauma where I try and validate their pain, because they would have been an incredible person without the trauma. But we can say it to ourselves because we need a way to cope. We have to find anything that you can grab onto to cope, because otherwise it's a slippery slope that sometimes people don't come back from. So it's not so much a matter where, do I think that all the corny things that I use to cope are actually fact? No, I don't. But do I know that they're a way for me to just get through the really rough times so that I can pick myself up and keep going and I don't fall apart completely? There's some pieces to grab along the way that I can use as I move forward. Yeah. So I think me trying to find a way to bring purpose behind what you go through is how I repurpose my pain. So a lot of my career, I felt like the things that I went through gave me a viewpoint that nobody else could possibly understand. Nobody else, unless you'd been through it, could look at a perpetrator of particular offenses and go, I understand that this is your level of trying, and I'm going to try and help you to do better. I don't think you could ever really, as a victim, look at a perpetrator and be like, I understand you. And it's something special that I feel like I had to bring to the world that could make a difference. And I know that that's not a normal thing for most people, but it's something that I have, that I can do, that makes me feel like, and even though it's a really sad reality, when you go through trauma, you feel like you need to have a purpose. You need to cling to something to make it make sense. And that's what I do in my career with crime. That's why I am finishing my degree in psychology. It's to wrap the combination of my existence to why I'm here, and I want to make a difference, and I want to make it make sense, and I want to make sure that, you know, if I get to a point in my life where I'm older, I can sit back and go, okay, that's why. Like I can cope in that way, but if there is no repurposing, I crumble. And I think everyone's had those moments where you've completely broken down. And when you've completely broken down, I've tested the way in which I've broken down, and I don't come back from it. I need to think in this kind of way, because otherwise the alternative is the complete opposite, where I'm like, I convince myself so raw and in depth that I'm not meant to be here. And it flips so quickly, where if I don't think in that kind of way, I will flip and I'm like, I was never meant to be here. I was a product of a person, two people who should never have had children. I was here for the enjoyment of somebody else for the most horrendous things anyone could imagine. and I'm actually not meant to be here. This, and then I spent a lot of intermittent time in my early 20s struggling with suicidal thoughts, because how could I not? And the only way to kind of build myself out of it was I needed to find a reason myself. No one could give it to me.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes because we're going to have to leave the 13% body fat moment for a second. That was my next question. So I just want to quick. Yeah, I know. I just want to find. Like I said, I write notes. I just what. So let's then go, because I was going to go through all your careers, because you just said what you're studying, but we'll get to that part too. But so tell me about this seemingly growing up with. We'll just get into the nitty. There's a lot of stuff here, man. That's why I said to Chris, because Chris doesn't know what I wrote, right? Chris doesn't know nothing. So he's a spectator to this as well. So I said, so tell me about, firstly, this thing, growing up with a regular mum and dad, but actually they weren't regular.
No. So probably the perfect representation of what people would assume was a white picket fence family.
Yep.
We quite literally had the 2-story like brick home with the 4 pillars out the front, and the seemingly like the middle, like perceived high class mum and dad. Like I don't call them mum and dad. So when I refer to them, I call them Darren and Melissa.
Yeah.
So like just for context, if I ever say Darren or Melissa, that's my biological mum and my biological dad. And Darren was a supervisor in the mines. He went to work 10, 12 hours a day. He had a couple of beers after work. He had intermittent friends. He'd come home. Melissa was a traditional housewife, raised the 2 kids, and everyone from the community just saw this very typical dynamic. I have an older sister as well. We were 2 years apart, and I'm the younger of the 2. But what they didn't see is, from when I was born, Melissa was visiting Darren in and out of jail. He'd already been placed in custody for sexually abusing his niece, which we didn't, obviously, we're children, we had no idea. So to me, my regular life was my formative years visiting Maitland Supermax. And we didn't really know what that was. We just thought, to be honest, I thought it was just going to visit Darren at work. But funny story, we actually met Ivan Milat there a bunch of times too.
Oh my God. Wow.
my icebreaker, you know, people like have fun facts about themselves. I was like, my icebreaker is Ivan Milat tried to kidnap me.
What did he do? What did he do?
He tried to kidnap me and my sister.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so everyone's like, well, that's impossible because you're this age and he was in custody. I was like, I didn't say he wasn't in custody, but he had all these crazy escape attempts in Maitland Supermax, and he would watch the routine of us come at the same time every week with my sister and I. And he had all these elaborate escape plans on Maitland Supermax, which is why it was later closed down, because the security was not Supermax. But he'd cut off his finger with like a plastic knife and stuff. And then eventually we got pulled in by the manager. And he said to Melissa, you guys need to change up the routine you're here. Like, we've intercepted plans for him to try and kidnap your children so that he can use them as leverage to get out of custody. Like, you need to change your routine. And I was like, and I gave him a pop-up one. But when I was older, I visited him again when I was working in Sydney. And I was like, do you remember me?
You sat with him. So he cut his fingers off, or his fingernails?
Oh, no, he cut it. He tried to cut it. So he only got halfway through the finger, but he tried to cut his finger off with a plastic knife because he knew he was in prison for life. So he spent quite a fair amount of time trying to escape. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess. I'm just trying to say I've never been... so fucked up that the closest I felt to where, it's no comparison story, but we could do stories. The closest I felt to feeling like you could lose your freedom at any point was obviously I went to court in relation to driving an unregistered car, unlicensed, and everything, and plus 2 dogs in the back barking maybe. Who knows what they got me there. But when I went there and I sat down waiting to be called up, I was just watching the room, and especially the room before you go to court, the first room, and just seeing the vulnerable people in there, the people that are probably caught up in shoplifting only, not because they're shoplifters, it's because they fucking need stuff and they can't afford stuff. And they're trying to represent, they're coming in with this bad outfit, but they think they look great. They're doing their best. They're doing their best. They've done their hair. But also when I got to the courtroom, before I went on, they had the television screens on and they were talking to people in jail doing court cases. And I'm thinking, what happens if this judge just says, let's lock this guy up? I'm not going to my car right now. Like I'm like, it's between me and this judge now. Not that I did anything bad. Not that I thought I was going to go to jail. What did I do? I didn't do anything that bad. But I knew if he says you're in, I better put on a big fight here because I'm going to have to smash a few people in here. But but the thing is, so like I said,
you realize you're really at mercy of the system that society has set up. It's not until you kind of break some of the barriers that they've set up that you realize how vulnerable you are in every system. And even that goes for if you by right end up having a serious medical injury and Medicare starts to not covering certain things in Australia, even though every other country in the world is very similar, like does not get the healthcare that we get. But you realize every single system in Australia has very strong boundaries. But the moment you become an outlier or you have a disability or you start to realize how fragile it all is, and you're a lot more vulnerable and at mercy to everybody else than what you thought you were. And that's what the justice system is like.
So tell me, did Ivan Milat recognize you?
No, he had no idea. I was 3 and 4 at the time, and like I gave him a popper, and he was a very normal. My favorite thing about being an officer is everyone is normal, and everyone just has this perception of these grisly people with these gross teeth and these long nails, because that's what we're projected this visualization of villainy, like and offenders and what they look like. But then I would interview hundreds of people on my caseload, and I'd be managing the most intense crimes to that. I literally had one guy on a community service order having a laser pointer, and it would literally be the difference between me interviewing and trying to figure out my case management for a repetitive rapist, like with the most heinous offenses, and then the next interview a guy who was a little bit stoned with a laser pointer, and I'm like, oh my god,
I know.
how are you guys in like the same interview on the same day? And it's just wild to, and when you just see all of their different faces, and I walk through the community, I'm like, at any point in time, if you're in a situation, life can change. And like my life, I've had so many situations where I'm reminded constantly, life can change so quickly, and it's all a combination of luck, decisions, and circumstances. Like if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, things can change so quickly. But obviously your choices come into it a lot, but they're just this gross entangled web of all of them. And I think that's why I'm a little bit nonchalant about certain heavy things, because at this point I just anything could happen. I don't test fate, and I'm not like, it couldn't get any worse. It can always get worse. It can always get so much worse.
Don't you think that like I tell my kids, especially Yanni, and I say it in general, which is unfortunate, but in all on, like I know we care, apparently we care, but majority of the world doesn't give a fuck and doesn't care. And the thing is, our job is to know that and then work from that point.
Yeah.
because, and that's what I try to teach them. I said, like, he might be working and his boss is, I won't mention his name, but I said, let's call him Brad. Bob. I said, Bob doesn't give a fuck, Yanni. He doesn't give a fuck about you, because Bob gives a fuck what his manager thinks of him right now, and he's trying to please him, you please him to please him. But because you know he doesn't give a fuck, you can work the system where you don't feel like you're being used. You're just working the system to how it's going to work for you. And also I said, and just get the fuck under the radar. Like I said, just meaning, you know what he wants you to do. It's very simple. So just do that. And also be a standout. Be the one that says, good morning, Bob. He's like saying, fuck, no one says good morning to me.
Yeah.
And the receptionist, you walk past the receptionist, good morning, ladies. Like, and I think we think we've got to be, like, we just got to know the playing field. And like every sportsman knows like I spoke to this girl who played high level soccer. And I said to her, what makes you a high level soccer player? Like, because she's just a girl talking to me, and she wants to play for Australia. She's close to it, but she's high level, gets paid for it, you know? And I said, what makes you a high level girl soccer player, whatever it is? And she said, it's because I know what's happening next.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you think about that, it's not what's happening now. She knows where the ball's going next.
Yeah. Well, you can't be a player without knowing the game. And that's kind of what life is like. You have to make sense of it psychologically so that you can actually navigate it. And most people, they don't get to that point till they're much older. That's why our parents are so important. Like, your children need you to help impart experience that you've got so that they can, you know what I mean? Like, they need you. You always, like, you are always going to need your parents. Whether or not you have them is unfortunate, but you're always going to need them. You're never not going to. And it's kind of like having the ultimate team, because you were talking before about having foundations that you can build from. That's the teamwork. You have all of this incredible life experience, knowledge, skills that you can teach them, so they don't have to go through the length that you had to go through to learn them. And then they get to build on that, and they get to impart it to their children. And that's the beauty of family.
But I will say this. Sometimes we give family, we give our parents, our siblings, we make them our representative in court, and they haven't even fucking studied the law. So what I'm trying to say to you is, like, I remember, let's just say it like this. My dad's never been in business. But when you're growing up, you want to talk to him about business ideas or what you're doing in business, and he's giving you advice that he fucking has never done. And and then you've realized when you've taken on his advice, it actually has gone wrong. So what I'm getting at is, I realized 2 occasions I should never have turned to my parents for advice. And that was, how am I running my business? What do you think? Am I running it good? Because I was working on my business, not in it. And they felt like, what the fuck? You should be in it. Why are you on it? You look like you're having too much of a good time. Aren't you supposed to be? And I think I took their advice and became a stress head. And the second one was when I was renovating a home. I wanted to show them off and impress them. Instead, they saw it as a destruction site. And then I realized they've never renovated a home in their lives. So I said, right, think about so I always say in other words, I always say, don't fucking ask for financial advice to someone that doesn't have money. What's funny is I had this financial advisor come to my house once. Nice guy. I got no problem with him. And he knows what he's doing, but he knows the textbook. But he's rocked up with a Kia. Sorry, Chris. He's rocked up with a Kia. and I've got six classic cars and 9 motorcycles in the garage. And I thought to myself, I don't know who should be giving advice here on finance.
Chris just came here to be at work, and you're ragging on his car. Like, come on.
Oh, Chris here. I actually haven't bagged him enough this year. I haven't bagged Chris for a while. Usually I bag Chris.
Chris, that's why you're in the corner.
Chris is in the, oh my God. Honestly, the only person quietly, I love Chris. And I'll tell you why. You'll get to me maybe one day. I mean, he usually comes on before we do the cameras, but he's the only motherfucker that can listen the way I say things and do things. But I believe he hasn't told me ever. He's never told me I've done a good job, by the way. Never ever have told me. I think he keeps me hanging. One day, maybe when they're burying me, he'll stick his head over the gravesite and go, "You did a good job."
At the end of the day, maybe he knows you better than you know yourself, and he's like, "This is what's going to keep him motivated." He just keeps dangling the carrot in front of you because you just keep moving forward.
I think it's more like he's going, like he's just going to go off his head in a moment. Like when I say I go off my head, he'll just go. But I know we're talking like he is the third person in the room, by the way. But but he he knows not that I'm right. I'm not trying to say right. He knows I only come with truth. He knows there's no filter, meaning of I'm trying to manipulate you. It's more like I come in with praise, and then I come in with, we've got to get better at this, man. This is not right. Yeah. But at the same time, I say to him, I'm not better at this. So why the fuck are we both not better? Let's just get better. So, in other words, it's one or the other. Like you got to step up, or I got to step up, or let's both step up. So trying to find that. So that's why I said sometimes that's why I was going to answer that question. Sometimes siblings, parents, if you're going to ask about relationships, don't talk to someone that just broke up or has just been divorced. I mean, they might have some relationship advice, but let them get through Tinder first, Bumble. Let them get through that first. Let them chase people, them chase you. But it's a bit of comedy here. But like I said to you, money, don't like I said, don't talk to people that have maxed out credit cards either. Like I said, it's just something that I think we take for granted because we look at their age. We look at age.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful. Like, I think one of my favorite quotes, watching my best friend become a mother, and I'm a godmother now, and I'm very, very involved with their lives and raising them.
Good. Well, you were handed a nappy yesterday.
Oh my God, I was literally, they are so savage. So they call me mummy number 2, just because they're so used to me being around all the time. But watching her, she's a single mum who's just taken on the world. But the most beautiful quote was, be kind to your parents because it's their first time in this world 100%. Too. Yeah, and it's a good quote to live by because they're all like, she's just trying to be a first time mum as well, trying to raise these 2 beautiful little girls.
Well, I had once. Sorry if I'm interrupting. Did you want to finish what you were going to say then?
No. It's just watching the girls also hold her accountable. You know, they're 4, okay? And they are so perceptive. Like,
they're like, I remember that it's true because some people, when my parents died, there was just a moment. Obviously, you're dealing with lawyers just because of stuff, nothing that bad. But I'll give you an example. I wasn't the I don't know what's it called. There's someone that has beneficiary. My sister was.
I have some recent experience with death.
Yeah. So beneficiary, and not funny. I remember I just knew there's certain questions weren't being asked, so I thought I'd ask the solicitor, and he was acting like you're not the beneficiary, and I'm thinking like, what the fuck?
I'm the son.
I'm the son. That's one, and then 2. He said to me something like, I asked him these questions, and he spoke to me like I should know that. And I said to him, his name was Simon. I said, listen, Simon, it's my first time having parents that have died. Maybe the second time I'll get it right. Maybe I'll know this. Maybe when you give me what I need to know, I'll be prepared for the second lot of parents that are going to die on me. Some people just need to like fucking lighten up a little bit about, first time. Not first time. First time of a lot of things that we do in life,
It's so disappointing when you go through death to realize how many people have this is death, this is bodybuilding, this is anything in life, but how many people think they know a situation that have never gone through it, and they're so happy to give such a negative opinion. Like, I've been getting slammed online lately about how I choose to grieve, and I'm sitting back and I'm like, person to person, I've never walked through a shopping center and like had a tear in my eye and have someone be like, it's like a random Wednesday at Woolworths, like you can't shed a tear. But then you go into the online community and everyone's so happy to have an opinion about what you should or shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, what? I know that we transitioned to an online community, but people just don't do that in real life. And I don't understand why they think it's appropriate to do it online either. It's just this false sense of comfort.
I don't
Yeah.
so what do you mean? Sorry, you can't show your emotions. You can't be. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've always been online, like at least solid, consistent for like the last 6, 7 years. And I've always been very transparent about difficult topics. I was very open about my family dynamic once Darren suicided. I was very open about my own mental health issues when I experienced suicide and like complex post-traumatic stress disorder and medications and anything to try and make it a little bit more transparent and make people feel a little bit less alone. Because there's only so many booty pics I have, right? You know, like
there's only so much to sprue creatine. There's like
right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like, and yeah, well.
So then,
yeah, go on.
When I started, I've always had a bit of a balance between showing up and being honest about what I was going through, and then also keeping to the industry that I love, because that's also what I'm going through. Like, I'm also building that. I'm also that athlete. I'm also a coach. I also look after my clients, but simultaneously, I will go through things at the same time. So I've had, my recent, my partner or my former partner passed away. And even though, like, the world doesn't stop when you're grieving, like you probably felt this when your parents died, you really want to just break down for as long as you want to so that you can feel the world without them. But no one's going to pay your bills for you. People don't really run your business for you, especially if you're alone. You can't, that's a luxury not everyone's afforded to. So I went straight back to work. I looked after my clients. I actually worked in disability and case managed, but I was still very open about how I was feeling and how I was choosing to grieve with the loss. And then hundreds of comments, mostly positive, but there is a pretty solid portion of it at the moment. They're just fighting online about how dare you set up a camera and cry. But then the alternative is, look at these fake influencers who are just showing the highlight reel of their life. I'm like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because you just can't. You just can't please everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I do. Again, we're gonna cover something. My script's everywhere now. I don't know where to. Like, I know where to find it because it's all in here, and you cut. I guess people like. I guess I'll just say, look, I'd like to always point the finger towards me in relation to. Sometimes I may wonder, why are we seeing someone cry online? Like, why? Like, right now, firstly, I have no real energy to even type something about it, meaning negative. Let alone, I don't have anything to type positive, because I guess what I'm trying to say is it hasn't inspired me. Something's got to get to you to type something in someone's post, meaning, and I guess it's how you resonate. And if you are someone that thirsts for people's lives to be fucked, you're gonna type it. But if you thirst for those moments when someone says something and you just feel like saying, I hear you, bro, or I hear you, man, or I hear you, whatever, like those are what I resonate with. But there is a lot of people that resonate looking like this is their opportunity of their inner ugliness to go out. And I think whatever they're saying, whether it's a good comment or a bad comment, it does come from who you are and how you see life. Look, to me, social media is hard. It's hard because we do social media, me and Chris, and I'll tell you this account I can't look at my personal account anymore. It's too much. Yeah. I'm burnt out. And not only that, I've seen enough booty and enough guys in their undies, everybody pulling down their tracksuits and fucking like the body just, it's like overload for me. Yeah. Right. And also the personalities, and maybe how I perceived bodybuilding's. It's changed a lot, but it's opened me like up a lot. Like I love this sport, and it's an amazing sport, right? But you know, I can see your point, and I think when I look at your account, I think it all marries in, because I think you're colourful. No, you're very colourful, but your colours are also got black and whites in there and shades of grey. And I think, firstly, you fucking write a lot in captions, mate. Oh my God, how much you write? All right.
I transition. So like sometimes
and you're big on voting. I'm thinking like, fuck, do we have to vote for this as well? Oh, how many voting are we going? This guy, is she running for office?
Do you know why though? I play into the controversy. So there's always two different sides of my account, and they always play off against each other.
Okay.
And you can always see. So whenever I put a poll in, it's this constant battle between these two opinions, and I always make sure the options are the complete opposite of what I've written, because if they disagree, then they disagree, and then it opens up this opportunity to have the contrast. And
do you have an alter ego?
I don't have an alter ego. I think people would assume I do, because when you meet me, I think it's easy to put me in a certain box. I obviously look very fitness influencer. I'm a bodybuilder. I am an online coach. I'm a sports nutritionist. It is very easy to put me in a box. So then I think when people find out I've had this massive life that is completely separate from the online coaching or the bodybuilding and the gym, they find it hard to reconcile that it's just one and the same person. So they separate them. Whereas in reality, I'm a really good coach because I've worked on complex behavioral management my entire life. So my whole career is working with high risk offenders and complex behavioral management. And all of that is married into my ability to assess somebody's physique goals or their long-term health goals and marry that with a realistic plan that the individual can execute based off their strengths and weaknesses, which is all of it has completely tied into each other. And then like my very adventurous, I have that kind of personality where I'm like, I can do anything, which is nuts. But I am also a advanced scuba diver. I've traveled the world doing tech dives and these incredible things. And I fish every couple of weeks as well. I'm a fisherwoman.
You fish?
But I do all the time. I spearfish.
G'day, I'm Jamie from Portion, and I'm here to talk to you about our whole sardines. They're full of omega-3s, and so they're fantastic for the fur and hair on your dog, especially the non-shedders like this one. This is Tipsy, Steve's dog, and she loves them. So head over to portion.com.au and use your code MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order, or MuscleTalks10 for 10% off every order after that. Cheers.
Well, I don't know what it is about fishing. I see people fishing and I'm thinking like, what's the purpose? How about you just put a towel down and lie on the grass? Like, why do you need to fish? Like it's I don't understand the concept of fishing, and I don't think I'm good at fishing at the moment. I can't even kill a cockroach at the moment. I don't know what's going on. So I just
the full moon. You've said it.
It's been going. It's been going for a while. It's been going for a long time. So, but I just wanted two topics that we just crossed in and out of. So let's just go. Let's finish with your biological father being in custody for sexually abusing. Did you say nephew or niece? Was it? Niece. And you did post about this in May 2022. I'm just letting you know that's how far back I did find it.
Well,
your
nice.
father being a pedophile.
Yeah.
And he then committing suicide. So I told you,
Yeah.
Chris, this is pretty serious stuff. And to avoid jail time.
Yeah.
And your cowardly mother who never called when it came out, and to protect him his entire life instead of loving you. It took a while for you to come out about this. after his suicide, many other offences were discovered many, many years later.
Yeah. So I don't go by my biological name. I grew up in New South Wales, and I don't go back to that area for that reason. When everyone was kind of dealing with the pandemic and COVID, simultaneously, we had this task force from the UK that was a whole bunch of child sex offenders who got investigated, convicted in Australia. That was all this massive task force information that was collaborated with the Australian Federal Police, and it resulted in multiple different offenders being convicted, one of which was the reconviction of Darren, which was my biological dad. So everyone was so focused on COVID, whereas I was in a complete other world.
Yeah.
But I was removed as a child, and I always spoke about it. So my friends always knew that he was a convicted pedophile, and I don't like the word normalized, but because it's a bit odd for people to understand, but that's all I'd ever known. So that's genuinely what happened. It was completely normalized for my world. I knew what had happened, but I put myself through school. I was legally declared independent by the time I was 16. So I had my own apartment. I was paying rent. I was working. I was walking to school with my work clothes, going in the morning, and then I would finish school, go to work, pay rent, cook dinner, repeat. And I put myself through the HSC. I made sure I got a really high grade. I knew I wanted to go to uni because I had this perception that was going to make me equate to something having this really expensive piece of paper.
Wow. Yeah, keep going.
And then I always knew I wanted to work in crime. Like what I was talking about before, where I was repurposing my pain, I always knew that I wanted to work in crime, trying to fix the problem that impacted me. So I had this intermittent relationship with my parents. It was on and off again for a lot of years, sometimes really good, sometimes really bad, which is really twisted for people to understand. But if you've ever gone through complex trauma, my memory of my childhood is so intermittent. I had to work with a psychologist and psychiatrist, multiple, over like a decade, to try and piece together just this broken memory of my childhood. So then when COVID hit and all went in the news, and then Melissa, my biological mum, called me and she was like, I need you to come to the family home. Something's happened. To be honest, I thought the cat died. And I was like, here we go. Drove like an hour and 10 inland, got to the house, and there's just federal police cars everywhere. The house has been raided. Darren's been taken by the police. And then because I was an officer, they've got this warrant, and she's like, he just said he clicked on a link. Like, that's all it was. They just, they're asking him some questions. But then the warrant had 50 different email addresses outlined, and it was all, and like, I work in crime, and it was all taboo dad, dirty dad 101, dirty dad, like, and just constant, like, sexually emphasized email addresses, and they only need to give enough information to justify the warrant. And I was like, that's the federal police for starters. He's been taken. Like, the whole house has been raided. Like, this is serious. And then I knew from my experience working with high-risk offenders that he was not going to be in a good place. So then I called them to see whether or not he was going to get bail, but they released him like 8 hours ago, and he hadn't contacted Melissa, and I just knew that he was going to try and kill himself. So in between the period that he actually got convicted, there was always this high risk of suicide because he'd already been in custody, and he had a terrible experience in custody when we were younger. He was bashed by a bunch of inmates with a brick and barely survived. So he knew for indictable offences in Australia what was coming. And I knew from my experience as an officer that if you were in his position, as if you wouldn't be thinking like that. Of course you would.
Is it because of the offence he's going in for that the prisoners, the prison inmates jump on that as you being scum?
Yeah.
Scum?
Yeah. In custody, there's 2 offences that you're a high-risk target for other inmates coming for you. Oh.
Yeah. I'll show you another one. If you do this, watch here, stay there. Look.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
What a moment for that.
Not that we need fireworks and balloons in such a dark story, but let's just keep going. That's how we roll here.
Maybe we do.
Maybe we do, yeah.
But child sex offences and offences against females. So if you are convicted of a DV offence and you go into custody, general hierarchy is your target, which is really interesting for me because as an officer, they don't know each other's offences. I know their offences, but obviously we don't disclose to other people what other people's offences are for. But you've got these kingpins who are acting like they would kill anyone who abused females, and I'm looking at their rap sheet like, oh, hypocrites! Like,
yeah, hypocrites.
That's you.
yeah, that's why you're in jail.
Yeah, so yeah, it was event like we could talk about this forever, and I feel like I miss a lot of detail, but I just couldn't possibly get through it in the time that we had. But eventually, when he was placed on bail for these offences, because child sex offences are not an immediate risk to the community, they're always calculated, they always involve grooming, you know, so in order to put them in custody for that period of time until they're convicted, it's a state cost that they don't really justify if they're not at risk. I know, so I don't think a lot of people know that, which is everything that I do for a living is very controversial. Like I can tell you some things.
I can imagine.
But yeah, so he was on bail and I knew, so as they were investigating it and they already started with the conviction list for other victims, I knew that they were going to come ask me questions eventually. So I did what any rational person would do. And I booked a one-way ticket out of Australia. I got a working visa and pissed off.
Oh, yes, of course.
But then COVID happened and that's an even longer story. So then I ended up in Queensland because that's the only flight I could get back. And then, of course, the AFC ended up on my doorstep anyways. And then we went through the process of multiple police statements and videos and investigation, and they laid all the evidence out in front of me where he admitted to abusing me as a child. He bragged about it. He bragged about what he did at different ages. And despite my biological mother having that, knowing that, she still called me a liar to everybody, even though I wasn't the main. There were multiple other victims. He was my influence was ironically very little in comparison to everybody else's victim relationship with him. I just so happened to be the only biological victim. And then she genuinely called me a liar, convinced my biological sister that I was a liar as well. And then when he was convicted and sentenced, they were convinced that he committed suicide because of my influence.
What?
Yeah, which is really...
That's pretty heavy. Like, I mean, what you had to, endure from... But what was... Can I just ask, not that this...
Yeah.
What's your background? Because you're not Aussie, are you?
I am, so...
But you look like you got European in you.
Yeah, so Darren, Darren was Greek. So I look a little bit Greek.
What are you talking about? No, you're Greek.
Yeah.
I'm Greek.
We just lost the heritage because both of his parents passed away when he was very, very young. He had a very heavy trauma background himself, which there's a lot going in there. But yeah.
Wow. So Greek. Yeah, because you said the columns, and I knew they were going to be some European, some kind of Italian, Greek, maybe even Macedonian, maybe even
it's my nose.
Albanian. Your nose? You got the Greek nose?
My nose gives it away. I got the Greek nose.
You're Greek. I feel like I'm talking to family because I'm Greek myself.
Well, if you're offering, I need some.
You need some family? Yeah, well, yeah. Of course, why not? I mean, you know what happens when you go see Greek family. You know what's in here? Greek coffee.
What?
Greek coffee.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I feel like we missed out on all that kind of cool heritage. It's such a shame.
It is a shame, but it is pretty cool.
I actually got really, really lucky. I was kind of informally adopted, not really adopted, but I grew up during that really difficult phase with an Argentinian family
Mm-hmm.
who are the most beautiful people. And they really represented this traditional family network and like incredible values, asado every Sunday, like the respect between each other, lots of brothers and sisters, and that, you know, the ultimate power couple, mum and dad, where they're in it together. They build this little empire together. They like, and my accent is sometimes a little bit weird because when I was growing up, I would change my Australian accent so that Viviana could understand me, because when you're full blown Australian, sometimes it's hard to understand what people are saying. So sometimes my accent flips a little odd, just so that other people can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, oh, well, like I said, because we've got many subjects quickly to get through as well, and I want to get through more quickly. Obviously, let's just look quickly at, and firstly, thank you for sharing. There is a point in my script where I said, and I think I'll save that moment, where I actually asked for a pause because it's mind-blowing, like, because I feel like I want to stop and just sit with you. I feel like I just want to, you know, understand you a little bit. Like I felt a bit, like I went to bed at 2:30 in the morning, by the way, writing this script, right? But no, but it wasn't about eat ups. I have to write 2 scripts. Do you know who I'm talking to next, by the way?
Who?
Brett Contreras.
Oh, that's cool.
The glute guy.
Yeah,
I know.
so
I'm talking to him
cool.
next. Yeah, I know. So anyway, I had to write his script. I wrote your script, but
Yeah.
So okay. So then I'm going to move this piece of paper because I've said enough with that paper. I just wanted to know. So that's 16. You're out on your own. You always wanted to work with crime and behavioural change. You then did a degree in crime and criminology. You started working in custody, and then you working towards rehabilitating people. In the justice system. You also worked in high risk intervention programs. You worked, and this is where it is. She worked in Supermax jail, by the way, Chris. She did. She wasn't in Supermax, but she did. Obviously, trying to. I don't want to like just wanting to connect with Nigel Milat, whatever his name was, I forget. Sorry about the funny punt. Sorry, guys, if anyone's listening and saying, "Oh, this guy's so insensitive, fucking insensitive prick." I'm insensitive because it's a fucking full moon, all right? So I didn't give a fuck.
I was holding in my comment where you were like, "Yeah, she came out of Supermax jail." I'm like father, like daughter.
Exactly. And then you went to become a parole officer. Then you left all that. Career in justice to study you're studying a degree in psychology. That's what you're doing right now.
Right now, yeah.
And then you've been coaching for 5 years on and off, and you want to give back to people that weren't really looked after. What does that mean? Let's ask that question. We don't, like everything else makes sense then.
I think the motivation for being a sports nutritionist in this space is to make sure that people don't have some of the experiences that I've had, that my clients have had, where a combination of lack of ethics, lack of morals, lack of genuine humanitarian values, in combination with just the education. I'm not even going to say that it's a lack of education at the time. It's that some of the education at the time didn't exist. So to be fair and credit where credit's due, everyone who practiced a certain way back then, it wasn't actually because they were trying to be intentionally harmful, but by proxy, the lack of information at the time made some of the practices, especially in the bodybuilding space, and body composition protocols, very detrimental to one's individual health. And that's pretty much a general consensus among any sports nutritionist or coach, is that the practices what we did back then to build muscle and get lean, sometimes they weren't always beneficial to long-term health. And then what we try and do now is to find a sustainable level of that. And there's obviously different categories between being a professional athlete or just doing it because you want to be, just because you have a body composition goal. And there's nothing wrong with either of those, but your approach is slightly different depending on what it is. But the motivation to stay in that space while I have other careers. And like I said before, I don't see them as two different careers. I see them as one and the same. I see them as complex behavioral management for an end goal. And either the end goal is sustainable body composition goals, or it's rehabilitating from substance abuse, or proper co-management of mental health issues, or recidivism, which is reducing the risk of reoffending in Australia. So the way in which I approach that is very consistent, but the end goal that I focus those skills towards can sometimes vary. So being a coach in this space means everything to me, because I want to make sure that people feel supported, they feel empowered, and capable of doing the things that they thought they could never do just by getting a small hand up.
And I think you were kind of doing it on and off, but now is it still on and off, or you kind of?
No, it's because it was always on and off, because I found it difficult to compete with time management. So when you work a traditional job, you're either doing shift work, or especially I ended up having to leave my government job in order to do this. Yes. So I work with a psychology company now, but I can do shift work. So 2025, since 2020, flexible working arrangement has been amazing. But back in the day, I would work like 8 till 7 o'clock at night in community corrections, and I couldn't just leave halfway through to make sure a client's okay, because they're not sure about their protocols and they need some information on just different things that make them feel supported. You can't do that while you're working in a 9 to 5, or you have to give up your phone if you walk into custody. So now that I've left that role and I have the ability to flexible manage my other career, I can do both in a way that makes sure I look after clients in both fields with quality over quantity. Whereas sometimes the job competes with that.
Yeah. So what is your conventional career called? What are you doing at the moment? What is it exactly?
Case manager and sports nutritionist.
So case manager is?
With psychology. So I work with Urzi Psychology.
With what?
Urzi, that's the company name.
Yep.
It's so that when I finish, I'm only 6 subjects off finishing my psych degree, but when I do, I'll be able to practice my master's and just continue the role that I'm doing now, get paid for it,
Yeah, okay. And then obviously then it's the PT side, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay,
but then once I'm a psychologist, I am registered with Sports Nutrition Australia at the moment, but the overall goal is I will be a psychologist, but my two passions don't change. I will transition my clients, especially in the athlete space, over to sports psychology, which is a massive gap in the industry that needs to be addressed. And like you talk to bodybuilders all the time, and mental health is such a massive thing with it, but there's no actual qualified practitioner in this space to help them. So big gap. And then in combination with my career in justice, criminal psychologist, obviously. So I'll be working both simultaneously in those fields.
I think I remember I seen a psychologist, by the way. I saw a psychologist for 10 years and on and off. Like sometimes we could be once in that year, could be every month, it could be every week for 6 weeks. Who knows what it was, what we were talking about. Sometimes it was even, I just enjoyed the non-biased opinion. I really enjoyed talking to someone that told me, to give up trying to be a sprinter in the Olympics at 40. You know what I'm trying to say? Like be realistic, like where your mum would send you to the Australian Academy, which would never get you there, but she just thought, you just got to give it a go. I'm sure you can do it. So, but I also found that psychologists are personal trainers for your brain. And sometimes your brain becomes obese. Sometimes your brain becomes like, you're just not feeding it well. So just like we need a personal trainer God, how hard is it to pull lateral pull downs and do a bench press with dumbbells? Like really, do you need a personal trainer? But you do. So even in the mental space, I guess you need a personal trainer for your brain.
Do you know what's even more interesting with that analogy?
What's that?
With psychology, especially if you work in trauma-informed practices and different mental health diagnoses, everybody's like, how hard is it to do a lat pull down or a bench press? add somebody in with an injury, absolutely difficult.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
you know, everyone always needs somebody just to kind of help with the space that might be specialized in, and that's how our community works.
It does. So we're still, you know, I mean, I've been jumping around. Like, I still got question 2, which is the 13% body fat, but I don't know if we're going to get to that one. But let's keep trying to get to that point. But again, something you touched on that we have to talk about, and it was a very sad post. It's up there, and you must have wrote 1,000 things to say, and none of it felt enough to say goodbye to you again. Today was not supposed to be about what we've lost, but what the world gained by having you in it. Until you passed, you told me your heart was full again. You were very much every bit amazing. You showed the world that hardship would never define you. You became a safe place for people in their lives. The person who carries their hopes when they felt lost, stood with them not only to carry their pain, but to try to take it away. World is a little bit less brighter without you in it, but your mum said there is an extra 22 years of the world when it tried to take you away with meningococcal. I won't forget the one of the most important things you ever taught me about myself, that I have so much more to give the world. We lived by the favorite quote we always shared: be the change you wish to see in the world. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's fucked, isn't it?
That one's still pretty raw.
I still can't believe how you're coping. Take your time. Her partner, Chris, passed away in December. Just take your time, all right?
You know how you were saying, like at the start, how you don't know how some people do it. When you meet somebody like Madi,
Yeah.
he's one of those people that's like the cream of the crop. Like he was an incredible person, and he also had his demons, but he was an incredible person. He lost both his legs to meningococcal when he was 16, and like with me coming from a totally different background, you know, I'd always had those two wrestling sides where I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. And you know, with Darren's suicide and things, it would constantly be a thought process. But then I met someone like Marty who lost both of his legs, and I asked him straight away, because I'm a very curious person, when he woke up, did he ever wish that he wasn't alive? Because trying to teach yourself how to walk on prosthetics back in the 90s without the kind of intervention that they had now would have been unbelievably torturously painful. And he was like, oh my gosh, no, I was so grateful that I was alive because I had so much more to do. And then you meet, like, he didn't just do, like, he went to the Olympics, he taught himself how to ski again, he downhill skied at like 120 kilometers, he trained harder than anyone I knew. Like, literally, we'd go to the gym together, and he, you know, he trained as much as he could, but he was a doctor. He put himself through medical school, top of his field, most incredible, compassionate person. And then he'd go to the gym every now and then. He's got no legs, and he would like out-train almost anybody. His strength was uncomparable and just the most genuine, incredible athlete. And then people often look to me and ask me how I did it. And then I look at him and the things that he achieved in his life, and I don't know how he did it. And now he's not here anymore.
It's fucked. I'm so sorry. Take your time. Well, let me help you a little bit. Fuck, he had a good smile.
Oh, he was so handsome.
He was so handsome. He was handsome. He had some great guns on him too. I saw the guns on his head. Fuck, how big was his guns?
It's so funny because he was like this. He was a doctor and just kind of like let work at his practice, and everyone kind of, doctors are always very busy, and they don't look anything like him. And a lot of people expected me to be dating some bodybuilder.
Of course.
And even though he looked like a bodybuilder, he was just this gentle doctor.
No, you were.
He was massive.
Yeah, and I saw some of the adventures you were on with him. I mean, how lucky are you? Can I just ask, how did he pass? What happened?
He had kidney failure. With meningococcal, it's a very strong virus that attacks your body, and that's how he lost his leg. So he was on renal failure when he was younger, and he was always going to be quite vulnerable when he was older. And it was completely unexpected. Some of his pain medication and his kidneys, and it was completely unexpected. So he passed unexpectedly in his sleep. Which is why, when we were talking about at the start of the podcast, when I was like, I never say things could get worse, because I honestly thought after, the suicide and the court case and all that kind of stuff, I honestly thought things really couldn't get that much worse.
How do you?
And then,
and then this. Yeah, she's quite creative, Chris. Even your. Oh, there we go.
My best friend just showed up.
Hello.
We're supposed to go train after this, and then she walked in and I'm crying, and she's like, oh.
What did he do to you? What did this podcast guy do to you?
Honestly, after this last couple of months, he's used to watching me.
Anyway, maybe this is a bit of therapy for you with me and you. We can do a bit of therapy together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was watching her. I saw her. I was looking through her IG, Chris, and when you did your 2024 recap, I mean, you're a very patient person typing in your bits and pieces in there. I mean, that is a lot of artwork. She could be a cinematographer herself and also some kind of creative director herself. But how do you do it? How do you spoke about dark times with yourself and feeling. Let me share something with you quickly. So, and you speak about medication too. Just to say, I was prescribed, I don't think I'm a depressed person or an anxious person, but I was prescribed antidepressants at early 40s. And it destroyed my life. It took everything. It took my marriage, took my money, to the point where at one stage when I was completely alone, no parents, no one, I hung on for 2 years not to stab myself.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? Because it's fucked. But the thing is, I'm letting you know though, the medication got me there, unfortunately. I don't need it anymore. I've realised I'm allergic to it. I'm so allergic to it, it will not let me live if I touch the motherfucker. Yeah. But how do you...
I was very similar.
Yeah.
I think the overarching thing, all the details aside, but the overarching thing for me is I stay very, very grateful. Because I think when you've had a difficult,
Grateful.
if you've had a difficult life,
Mhm.
you need to draw strength from what you do have. Because if you start focusing on what you don't have, it's a never-ending story. There's not a
Oh
single,
no, that's what
you
I'm going
know,
through right now. I mean,
right?
not that I want to harm myself. I don't. I'm very happy,
Yeah,
but I'm also very sad and angry at the same
yeah.
time.
And
But yeah,
they're allowed to coexist. You're allowed to be sad and angry at the things that you missed out on that other people have. But I draw a lot of strength in the fact that I've had things in myself, like even little things when I was saying, when I was a state award kid, there was something in me. I'm lucky that I can read and write. I know that sounds really stupid, but there are some people that I work with in disability and psychology that their vocational capability is unbelievably low, which brings their ability to pull themselves out of certain situations even lower. So
wow.
little tiny things like the fact that I could pick up reading writing, that put me in a situation that it pulled me out of a situation that could have been worse. Like having amazing friends come along the way, I would not be here without the friends that I have.
Yeah, I
And
noticed.
then
I noticed your friends. Yeah,
I've,
well,
I've got incredible friends.
and really good-looking ones apparently, from what you
Oh
write.
my
Yeah,
God. Yeah. Like
yeah.
I've got really hot friends.
You got hot friends.
Um,
Yeah, I
it
know.
just comes with the territory. And
Yeah,
then,
well, I guess, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're, I mean, not that I don't know if you, but you're Greek. I mean, we're very modest, and that it delves deep into your blood. I'm just letting you know that's how we are as Greeks. But having said that, yeah. So friends, grateful. Where do you find grateful? What's grateful to you? Meaning, is grateful faith, God, Mother Nature, spirit world? Where's grateful, or is just grateful?
I think gratefulness comes from within. I wrestled with religion for quite some time.
Mm,
I wrestled with a version of faith, but a version of faith that was more in myself.
mm.
Um, and I have a degree of spirituality that, but I mean, you talked about it at the start of the podcast where you're like, someone tell God that I'm not his strongest soldier because
Yeah, I'm the
I
same. I'm the
can't.
same. I was
Like,
I was I was talking to my gardener this morning, and I made him a coffee, and he's in faith, and we just said, I said, look, whatever I signed up for at the moment, someone tell him I just don't want it.
I don't know who I pissed off in a past life, but
Yeah,
come on.
yeah, yeah.
But I think, and like I use a lot of my friends are very similar to me, where I get this question a lot, and the bottom line is I do it because I have to. You don't, you don't get a choice. I don't get a choice. There's no other choice.
Yeah. No, there isn't. And I've got kids, by the way. I'm just saying, I've got a daughter. I've got a daughter. She's 22 this year, and I've got a son who's 19. But my daughter, who what she went through as a kid, and like, I know everyone's got stories, but I mean, she literally she stopped going to school at year 9, not because she was a bad student. It just wasn't a place that
Yeah.
she could settle mentally and physically and spiritually.
Yeah.
She just did not enjoy the environment of what she saw in
Oh,
what she saw in people, right? But this kid ended up, going to the most elite performing arts school in Australia, and then now she's a qualified performing artist. Like, she
you
can,
must be very proud.
yeah. We went and watched the musical Jesus Christ Superstar just a few weeks ago together,
Nice.
and then we had sticky rice after with mango ice cream. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
This is the best. So yeah, you just gotta. I don't know what it is, but it is a full moon at the moment. Let me tell you.
Yeah. You just, yeah.
Well,
I
let's navigate out to the 30% body fat, and you being and not allowing one stupid prick to ruin your life, right? Whatever it is, however you're putting it, and that you are there prancing around in some comfy gym shorts.
Yeah. I actually, so I surprised myself now that I'm a professional bodybuilder, I surprised myself where I thought I had this perception that I'd blown out post-comp because I went hard in Dubai, a global village. If you've ever been, make sure you go. If you haven't been, make sure you go. It's basically like Disneyland for foodies. And then I had my 30th where my friends surprised me with a 2-week overseas trip where they all attended, completely organized and planned and surprised. And I was not tracking macros. I was going to, choose experiences over calories. And I made a conscious decision to do that, even though it wasn't very combative of my traditional reverse, but I can't get those moments back. So I thought I'd blown out post-comp and I was like, oh, well, kind of fucked it, but that's all right. I can get it back. I know what I'm doing. But then I went and got a DEXA scan done and I'm 13% body fat, which is well and truly very, very low for your off season. And I was like, never mind. I just have, I'm just delusional about what I think people should look like as professional bodybuilders. And even myself, where I thought I was a little bit more insightful about body composition, particularly you're always a bit harder on yourself. But even myself, I'm like, I had this unrealistic expectation that I was going to lose 3 more kilos and that was going to be my off-season physique. And I'm like, if I lose 3 more kilos, I'm going to be sitting at like 10% and not really even in the data point to facilitate the build that I need to in order to be more competitive my next show. So I just had this nice little flipped transition where I'm like, I kind of want to show people what I just kind of want to break the stigma around girls that have, these prominent 6-packs, even 8-packs at some point, and they're assumed to have very low body fat. And I've got clients who look like that, but they're sitting at around about 22% body fat, but they still have very visible abdominals. Whereas as opposed to me, who's 13% body fat, you can't see a single ab unless I'm like flexing for dear life. And I think it's just so important for the online community to be reminded that different, like the realities of what different body types look like, even at a professional level. And then on top of that, you could have the exact same weight, the same body fat, the same lean muscle mass as somebody else, and still your body composition will look completely different because of how your genetics sit. So I'm never going to have someone that has abs until I'm on stage. And there's nothing wrong with that. It makes me no less of a professional in my off season. But, we're constantly conditioned to have these physiques in front of us all the time, and we think we're supposed to look a certain way. And I'm quite proud that my physique itself doesn't actually look very similar to a lot of other people who are in this industry. So I'm quite proud that I can represent a different category of people now.
So yeah, because you did a funny post. I saw that too, where you were kind of like pushing out your tummy. Like you're having a real good old time there with your little belly.
Yeah, which I used to convince myself that those very human aspects of myself was what prevented me from being a bodybuilder or a professional bodybuilder, which is why I didn't actually jump on stage for such a long time. And I held myself back because I convinced myself that I wasn't enough.
So you've done
from the truth.
Yeah, no. You've done 2 comps, correct?
Yeah, so last season where I took out my pro card in the championship, that was my 2nd show. So
no shows before that?
1 show before that.
Yeah, 1 show before that, but nothing before that. Wow. Talk about, I don't know if you got to hear the podcast we just launched last week, Jackson Gurin. He was a bit the same. Similar story. In the IFBB, he similar story. He actually thought when he did his last IFBB show, he goes, look, let's just see, where I place. He thought, and someone said, no, you're gonna take it out, and he goes, let's just get our feet wet a little bit, and then he takes it out. Yeah. So he was, that's it. So he was
that's
like,
exactly what I did.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you came in amazing. I mean, from the first show, the second show, and obviously you've said something like, just let me find it quickly. While I'm looking for it. So really, is creatine going to give someone a booty like that?
No.
You did say it's a hook bait when I did read it.
Yeah, I was like, I qualified.
5 to 8 years, huh? Is that what it takes to get the booty going?
No, it depends on your genetics. I remember my newbie muscle growth is absolutely a thing, by the way. Like when you get closer to your genetic ceiling, it obviously slows. But that first 6 months to 12 months of weightlifting and resistance training, you will grow probably at least 60% of your submittable muscle in that period of time. And then every small percentage increase just gets harder and harder.
It does. So, okay, so the creatine, that was just a hook bait. But I looked at your highlights and I don't want to, there was a lot of booty going across your highlights. I was trying to find where I could go with the story, but
they're all very outdated too. I thought they were deleting them for a while, but then I saw, obviously you showed what you were when you were wanting to be when you were a gym bunny. And all that stuff. Look at the story. I'm just trying to. So, the first comp was, let's see. Second comp was doubling down and doing what you did, accepting that you were the category you were going to go with. So, what's the third one? What are we expecting? World domination.
World domination. Oh, God, that's like the Greek goddess in you, yes.
So we've got the world. So now that I'm a champ, it goes pro, then it's champions, and then you've got the overall world title holder. So I hold the title for the United Emirates section. But this year and next year, well, every single year they have all of the champions compete against each other for the world title holder in our federation. Which is like, it's to do your second show and then compete against. So my biggest competitor has been my idol since I even knew bodybuilding was a thing. Like,
who's your idol?
Hattie Boydell. So she's now going to be my direct competitor at Worlds, and in order to take that world title, I need to beat her. Which is, even just trying to do that is a massive honor for me. So I am unbelievably honored and unbelievably excited. I don't expect anything right away. I think I have a lot of experience to gain by doing just maybe a few more shows before I maybe achieve that. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to go my absolute hardest. And look, maybe I will take it out, but I would be, I'm very honored to be there. And even if I get second or third in the world, against my fellow competitors, like they are all top tier, incredible women. There's another, Sinead DeChico, who's an IFBB competitor who's crossed over. Their physiques are out of this world, like a thing of dreams, and they've all been competing for significantly, like I'm a baby compared to them. So I have an Asha Coutard, all of them multiple time world champions, whereas this will be my first shot at a world title. So I have a lot to learn from them, a lot to learn about myself. Not that I don't believe in myself, but like I'm just really lucky that I'm in a federation where my competitors, they're kind of more like my colleagues. It's not that they don't want me to win. Like I was at the gym with Asha the other day, and we just literally talk about barriers and things that we're struggling with, and we are the same. And I know that when I'm on stage, even as a professional, we're not trying to beat each other. We're just trying to do the best we can, and hopefully that's enough to take it out, because everybody wants to win. But I know that they're not doing it. They're not doing their best so that they can hurt me. Yeah. They're just, and it's my federation is incredible like that. There's no cattiness. There's no, I need to get you, and like you and me, let's go. It's quite literally they would, to be, if I literally called Asha, or if I came across Hattie and I was like, oh my God, I'm struggling with like how to think about this with conditioning, or whether or not I need to build this area to be the most competitive in the figure division, they would genuinely give me advice. They would be like, oh, like for figure, I would think of this. And if I had some questions about conditioning with the protocols that they've done, I literally could bet my whole life that they would give me advice, tips and tricks on how to elevate me. And if I could give anything to them to support them, then I would. And that's why I love my Fed.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, yeah, it's like it is. It seems like an amazing federation, but people have spoken about eventually your idol or someone you looked up to suddenly is your competitor, and you got to kind of get that competitive mind now that you love them, but now you love to beat them.
Oh yeah. But like, I mean, any pro bodybuilder, the reality is, if you had somebody hold back just because they respected you, you would hate it. It's not part of the sport. It's not part of being an athlete.
No.
You want someone to show up on the day as the best version of themselves they could, because when you win, or if you don't win, it's going to be so much sweeter that you had, they went their hardest and you could beat them. So I don't want anyone to hold back. I want everyone to do their absolute best, because if you have to go away and you need to do refinement work, that's what's going to drive you. Like you've got to bring your best.
You do. You have to bring your best. All right, we're going to maybe 2 more questions that we'll go over the body and we'll let you get to the gym. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I was like, my poor friend is like sitting out the front waiting
hey,
for me.
Tell her this is Muscle Talks podcast, all right? All right, this one's a long one, so we won't go through that. But just something you said, never give up on yourself. It's very important. I suppose there was a post there. There's a lot of things in that post. It was it's the picture of you going through life, posing in front of the mirror in your many beautiful shapes. And you said, I'm so glad I never gave up on myself. All of this started from the girl who got prescribed antidepressants for the first time, thrown into an eating disorder. You lost weight. We idolized people. We glorified them when they were a cardio bunny and, lost weight. They're idolized and congratulated. But then when you've gained it all back, it was as something of recovery. It was seen as a failure. So it's just a post of what we see success as, I guess, and not knowing the truth behind it, and maybe also looking at success isn't what you see, I guess, as well.
Yeah. I think everyone has this perception that we all have the same starting point in life, and that the end point is also very similar, but it's not real. I think everything that everyone's actually achieving for is not the bullshit that you need to just have the big house on the hill and whatever that looks like, or these days the yacht or the $20 million and the whatever that looks like for you. But I think it honestly is just about being the best version of yourself, building on where you started and being better than what you thought you could have been. Or at least that's what it is about for me. Because if I think about my start point, I get too caught up in my negative headspace, especially my victimhood. It's very easy for me to go down the slippery slope of being a victim. And I let the pain in when it's necessary, and I make sure I feel my feelings, because bottling up didn't help either. But for the most part, I make sure that I just try and do 1% better. And if I have a week where I'm feeling incredible, then I go for the 10%. But sometimes your mental health doesn't permit that. Sometimes shit gets in the way. Sometimes people die that you didn't expect, and you might not be able to give that extra 110%. So just showing up in a way that you can at the time with what you've got is more than enough. And there'll always be time to go above and beyond, but sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it's just not the time, and that's okay too.
Yeah, no, it's not. Sometimes it's not the time. So I'll just say you've got here what people see and what they don't. There you are posing, and there you are crying. I guess it was a walk-in wardrobe. I thought for a moment, was it a bathroom or a laundry? Grief is different for everyone. What do you want to tell people that are grieving? in a way? Like what do you think if someone's out there?
That I think you always have this insane pressure that it's going to go away, and you get this unrealistic expectation and hope that I'm not going to feel this one day. It's going to go away. It's not going to hurt as much. And I think that sets people up for this unrealistic expectation that you're not going to miss the one that you love, whether or not it's your parents, your friends, your children when they move on, or a partner that you've lost. I don't think it's fair to expect people that are grieving to tell them that it will go away one day. Like, it'll get better. I think the more accurate way to describe it is that carrying the pain and the love, which grief is just the cost we pay for loving somebody, it gets easier to carry and you get stronger.
I know that thumbnail thing keeps coming up because your hand's there. It's picking up you playing with your necklace.
Yeah.
So
my necklace is actually Madi.
I do. I did one day.
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I play with it a lot.
Yeah, no, and please do. I mean, we're just going to have the thumbs up, keep going, but maybe we should get a thumbs down. I remember once saying to my kids, because I'm divorced, unfortunately, that's why I say unfortunately I'm divorced. It was not really part of the plan, and the funniest thing is, I said to my kids once, the day our family broke is the worst day of our lives, but can we just keep it to one day? And can the rest be okay?
Yeah.
So we can always go, that's shit, but let's not make everything shit. So that's the shit day. Let's keep it the shit day. Yeah. Madi passing is a fucking shit day. It's always going to be shit. It's going to be sad. Yeah. It's going to be all that. And you shouldn't stop. Nothing should ever there shouldn't be anything that you need to look for to make that day, whatever it is. But
do you know what's funny?
What?
When you opened up with, how does this girl get through Christmas? And because Christmas notoriously is the worst time for me.
Yeah.
But my birthday, so the reason why my friends put in so much effort is because my birthday is 10 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
So 15th of December, but Madi passed 3 days after my birthday. So we had this beautiful, luckily we celebrated my birthday together, and it was actually a really beautiful memory that I'll always get to have. But then it was also a few days before Christmas.
I know. I don't know how you do that.
And then my biological father's birthday is smack bang in between on the 21st. So we've got the 15th, the 18th, the 21st, and the 25th. All of them are just horrible.
I know. And I know. And the thing was, I also know that you celebrated then a belated birthday in January. I saw that. That's why I got confused, because then I saw that. Look, my mum passed, I think, 3 days after my birthday, and I thought she was going to pass on my birthday, and I was really okay with that. I was like, if you're going to, because she had motor neuron disease, and when she was going to pass, it was my birthday, and it was kind of like, if she goes today, it's my birthday. It's perfect. Yeah, like she should be part of my birthday. Like, it wasn't going to take away that she gave birth to me, but she was there to leave me. So I was I was ready for it. Sorry, go on.
No, I was like, it's a bit poetic because it's life and death, right?
It is a bit poetic. And also, last thing, I really want to say thank you for letting us know that we can remove an empty water bottle from somebody trying to fucking reserve a piece of equipment. And can I ask, can we move a filled bottle?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You can't reserve a machine just by putting a water bottle on it. Like, if you're going to the toilet or something mid-set, then fair enough. But if you are literally on another machine and you're reserving another one just by putting your water bottle, no, absolutely not. No. Like,
we used to throw our towels on there.
Yeah, but if you're using one machine, like, be a courteous gym goer. Like, you can't reserve multiple machines at the same time in a busy gym. Like, it's just not fair.
That isn't fair. It isn't fair at all. Well, look, let's go over the body. Okay, we usually at the end go over the body, and what we do is I'll give you a body part. All I need is one exercise, sets and reps.
Yeah.
Let's whiz through. You don't train it. You don't train it. That's it. Just say don't train it. Okay.
I'd be surprised if you picked a muscle that I didn't train.
All right. Maybe the first one seems like no women train it. Traps. Do you train traps?
Yes, I do actually.
Ah.
So because luckily I'm figure, so because I'm in the highest muscle density category you can get, I have no limits on how I train. However, in saying that, there is such thing as over recruitment because my priority in a lot of that is my delts, obviously my front delts, and you can overdo it. So for me, an absolute favorite, but it's a combination recruitment, is my overhead shoulder press. And for a female, I get a high level of excitement when I went up to the big boy weights, and when I started doing above 20 kilo dumbbells, I was like, yeah, let's go. So
Oh my
I think
God.
I'm on 22, 25, so like 50 kilos in combination at the moment.
Wow, that's pretty heavy.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So what do you train for traps? Would you do shrugs? What would you, or would you do that?
No, I would do that. So it's a combination. I still recruit my traps in it, but I'm still prioritizing my front delts because
Okay.
I don't want to fatigue, especially if I'm doing shoulders. I don't want to fatigue my traps, so I don't isolate them.
Okay, so how many sets and reps?
I do 4, 1 warm-up set with 10 to 12, and then I do 6 to 8, 3 with a 2-minute rest.
Okay.
That's in my build phase.
Yep. That's okay. We can go build phase. So then we'll go through the delts quickly. What about side delts?
Obviously lateral raises.
Yep.
They're king. They're good.
Sets and reps.
I've been doing supersets, so I've moved into which I never used to do because I would over fatigue my traps too much. So I stayed away from it because I pre-fatigued my traps and I found it hard, and then I ended up accidentally pulling my rear delt. But anyway, so I do standing lateral raises at 10 to 12 reps on my RPE like 9 with 1 rep in reserve, and then I move on to an AMRAP set with about 50% weight seated with a swing. And that's as many reps as possible.
Okay, I should be writing this down. Where's my pen? So we spoke a little bit about front delts because you're doing it through a press, correct? That we're talking about. What about rear delts?
Love rear delt fly. Like, I just feel like it's the most optimal made to, especially because I have a fair few injuries. So if I was to do it with a dumbbell and I required to do a hip hinge with a bent over rear delt fly, I don't feel like I get the right recruitment even with cables. So my seated rear delt fly just gives me that kind of support so that I can isolate my rear delts, but also no grip. So I have a complete open fist with the rear delt fly, and I just push from the open palm. I don't have a grip recruitment.
And sets and reps?
12 to 15.
And sets?
3 sets.
3 sets. Okay.
Because usually I use it as an accessory lift.
Okay.
On shoulder day.
And what about laterals?
Which lateral?
My one.
You just
whatever you want to choose in the back exercise. Give me a back exercise.
I'm always such a functional pull-up girly. Like, me and the boss feeling of being able to do just wide grip pull-ups not assisted, I will always have them in, only because it's such a flex. So
okay, yeah, it is a flex. It is, because I'm not very good at it. How many sets in that and reps?
As many reps as possible, especially for females. It's quite hard for them to do it in general. At the moment, I'm sitting at 10 reps. I do 3 sets. I usually can clear 10 to 12 depending on my energy and what's already fatigued. And then I can do 8, and then I can do like 4.
Okay. What about chest?
I've been loving my dumbbell incline bench press. Only because I still need to activate some front delt recruitment for me. Obviously, for females, we don't isolate chest as much because there's no aesthetic benefit from a female bodybuilder doing that. So I incorporate it in with my front delt work.
Okay, sets and reps?
3, mostly just strength at the moment, so 6 to 8 reps.
Okay, abs?
Especially again for my category, so everything's mostly for a purpose. I'm smashing vacuums. So I'm trying to get the smallest, like, so that's predominantly working on my transverse abs, but so that while I'm posing and the difficulty that I have with holding the pose or being on stage for a long period of time, my vacuums support me having the smallest tapered waist that I can attempt.
And how do you vacuum? How many seconds do you hold it?
At the moment, I'm holding 60 to 90 seconds, but I do regression. So sometimes, depending on my fatigue level, sometimes I'm laying down, sometimes I go on my knees, but the ultimate for me is actually standing so that I can try and simulate the way in which I would vacuum while posing on stage.
Okay. Bicep?
I don't train biceps anymore.
Okay.
They grow insanely fast, and I need the bigger my biceps get, the smaller my shoulders look. So
okay, no, I could
stop training them.
No, I could see that. Your biceps are big. Tricep?
Same thing. So I don't want too much density between my biceps and my triceps because they're already quite thick.
Okay.
Priority at the moment is just building my shoulders thicker.
Okay. Forearms? Go through the whole
Nope.
body. Nope. Okay.
None.
Quads?
Love my quad day. At the moment, I'm loving my barbell walking lunges. I do one warm-up set, no weight, and then it's roughly 20 reps each way, and I do 4 sets.
Okay. Hammies?
Hammies, typical dumbbell RDLs. I do 3/4 rep ranges. I don't do a full range of motion because I don't really need it to activate to get my hamstring recruitment going. But I'm also very conscious of doing an injury because it's quite a vulnerable position for me to be in.
Okay. Did we say sets and reps there or not?
Oh, sorry. No, I keep forgetting. I do one warm-up, like I always do a warm-up set with every exercise, and then I do 3 of 12, but I'm still looking for an RPE of 9 to 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Hammies?
We did hammies, which is my RDL.
Oh,
Gotcha.
sorry. See, I got lost in here. I was daydreaming for a second, not because only because when you run a business, you're thinking to yourself stuff. Glutes, and this is so automatic because this happens every finish of the podcast.
Yeah.
Like so, glutes.
Cable glute med kickback. I know. So I don't need to grow my glute max. I don't need to go to my upper or my lower glutes. I just need to grow glute med for a particular look.
Yeah.
And it is 1 recruitment set and then 3 working sets, 12 to 15.
Okay, that's good. Calves?
Smashing my calves. I usually superset it on my leg press. Once I finish my leg press, I just drop the weight and I hit 12 to 15, but as many reps as possible.
Sets?
I'm trying so hard to 3 to 4. Trying so hard to build my calves.
Well, I heard holding them in the eccentric. I think it's the eccentric move. So stretched out, holding. Because I tell you, no one knew how to grow calves.
Yep.
But the thing is, it's because we never treated them like any other body part. And the other thing is, I heard do calves first. Don't do because when you finish legs, you go, I've got to do calves, and you've already seen the outside door. So you go, I'll quickly do it before I leave. Where you got to invest in it. So just
There's a recent study that came out to support, so they did a bunch of different training protocols and they tested which rep range of the calf raise was optimal for muscle growth, and what they found was the lower portion.
That's right.
And the eccentric portion was the most optimal out of all the test subjects for calf raising. So the full range of motion isn't actually the most optimal. It's actually the half bottom range.
I know. And Jay Cutler told me that. So there you go. Not personally though, but I heard it. Just to sound technical, what about tibialis? That's the front of the calf.
I don't specifically train them. I get enough recruitment through. I do even Stairmasters.
100%. Well, this is your opportunity to promote yourself. So where can everyone find Madi Graceanopoulos?
That should have been maybe I thought about changing my name for a while, but I am known as Madi Grace. My main platform is on Instagram, where you can find my coaching or my posing coaching. I work with a comp prep team who specifically works with athletes named Astrophysiques, and my federation is Fitness, Muscle and Glamour, which is FMG, an International Federation in Australia. And if you need anything, reach out to me, reach out to Estro, reach out to FMG, and we're all part of a big family and we can support you. And if there's anything personal that's triggered you that we've had a conversation about, I find that a lot of people from Instagram reach out to me about really personal struggles which is part of why I talk about it so openly. Please just send me a message. If you do sit in my requests, I'll get to it eventually. There is a lot of them. But you are not alone, and there is light to be made out of the situation. So please feel free to reach out.
Same, yeah. Reach out to us, and we'll port you over to Maddie. No, Chris. We'll get him to talk to Chris, a true heartfelt Macedonian. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no, but yes, most definitely. I just want to say thanks. I really appreciate your time. It was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. You're very, very easy to talk to. And you definitely do feel much more like little Greek home. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.